Hello everyone and welcome to this Langerr at the Mic live stream here. We got a lot to talk about, so let's get right into it. As you know, a lot has happened in Habs land in the last 24 to 48 hours. Well, in fact, pretty much the last week. The Carolina Hurricanes offer sheet to Jesperi Kotkaniemi of $6.1 million for 1 year became official yesterday because at 5:15 p.m. the Montreal Canadiens announced that they would not be matching the offer sheet to Jesperi Kotkaniemi, making Kotkaniemi become a Carolina Hurricane. And then just under 90 minutes later, the Montreal Canadiens announced that they have acquired center Christian Dvorak from the Arizona Coyotes, and they'll send to Arizona the earlier of the two first-round picks, one that they received from the Hurricanes as compensation for signing the offer sheet of Kotkaniemi, and then the other second, and then it's a 2023 second-round pick, I believe. But yeah, so Kotkaniemi no longer a Hab, and the Habs get first-round pick and third-round pick compensation for Kotkaniemi, and then they take, I guess you could say, one of their first-round picks in the 2022 draft, paired with a second-round pick. They send it to Arizona for Christian Dvorak. So when all is said and done, it's basically Dvorak or Kotkaniemi and a second-round pick for Dvorak and a third-round pick. So let's talk about this one by one here. I already posted a video and a stream. As you can tell, by the way, I just got into my home in Montreal for the long weekend yesterday, and that's why my technology, I'm just saying live stream from my room here, not my usual studio. But anyway, so I didn't have the chance to do this yesterday. But anyway, this is not about the Carolina Hurricanes pettiness, as you might want to call it, in not signing Dougie Hamilton or offering him 6.5 or just something that was way too low for Dougie Hamilton, not keeping Nedeljkovic, and then offering $6 million to a player who, at his best, put up 30-something points in his rookie season in 2018-2019. It's not about that. What this is about, or at least what I care about, and obviously the $20 signing bonus, but what I care about is the fact that the Canadiens, again, just failed another first-round pick. They just wasted another first-round pick. If you go all the way back to 2012, Marc Bergevin's era, and even before that, Jared Tenori in 2010, and Nathan Beaulieu in 2011, and then starting with Marc Bergevin's tenure, Alex Galchenyuk, Galchenyuk, McCarron, Nikita Sherbak in 2014, Noah Juulsen in 2015, then it was Mikhail Sergachev in 2016, then Ryan Poehling in 2017, and then it was Jesperi Kotkaniemi in 2018, Cole Caulfield 2019. I would say of all those first-round picks, Cole Caulfield, of course, was the right pick, and then you could say Kaden Guhle, and then Logan Mailloux this past year. Of all those first-round picks, Ryan Poehling and Cole Caulfield are the only two first-round picks that are still in the organization right now, and the jury's still out on Ryan Poehling on whether or not he can solidify himself as a top-3 centerman on this team. I mean, I think he can because he had a really great year in the AHL last year, one of the best centers the best center in the AHL last year, especially on the Laval Rocket. But can he be good enough to solidify himself as a top-3 center on this team, given how this coaching staff and this organization handles their first-round picks? I mean, obviously, a lot of that is on Kotkaniemi as well, because Kotkaniemi, could he have been better? Sure. But the fact is the Canadiens, they maybe should have taken Kotkaniemi, and they could have taken Brady Tkachuk. They weren't willing to live with his inevitable mistakes, and I said this yesterday or last week, but I'm going to say it again. They and then they scratched him for for 3 playoff games this past year, and then they completely mishandled his contract negotiations while he was a restricted free agent. So given that they dug themselves in this hole, the Canadiens, with Kotkaniemi, it was the right decision to not match the $6.1 million contract that the Hurricanes signed him to on the offer sheet. You don't just go from scratching him 3 times in that playoff run to all of a sudden saying that, oh yeah, Kotkaniemi, we believe he is worth $6.1 million. You don't go from that. Like, you don't all of a sudden pretend that Kotkaniemi is worth $6.1 million just like that, just because the Carolina Hurricanes thought that just because the Carolina Hurricanes suddenly value KK at $6.1 million doesn't mean that you suddenly value him at $6.1 million. So, so it was the right decision to not match, plain and simple. But here's a question, though. If you're taking the 7 first-round picks, Marc Bergevin, this was the first time, in this Dvorak deal, this is the first time that Marc Bergevin has traded a first-round pick in his tenure as general manager. Trying to think. Yeah. Pretty sure it's the first time he traded a first-round pick. Or at least this, but even then, because it's an extra first-round pick, he never, in his entire tenure as GM, he never had a year where he did not have a first-round pick. But all this to say is, if you had taken those 7 first-round picks, let's say the 6 first-round picks, obviously Sergachev being the best draft pick probably that Bergevin made in his tenure, well, Caulfield obviously, and maybe Gouli and Logan Mailloux, but we all know the backlash from Logan Mailloux. But if you had traded those 6 first-round picks in 2012, who could you have acquired for those 6 first-round picks? The Galchenyuk, the Sherbak, the Jolson, the Sergachev, which they trade anyway, the Kotkaniemi, the McCarron. Not a single one of those players on the Montreal Canadiens right now, except Ryan Poehling and Cole Caulfield. Ryan Poehling obviously still has to prove that he is worthy of a roster spot in training camp. But who could you have acquired with 6 first-round picks in 2012? That'll be a question that I guess we'll never know the answer to, but it's just really, it's fun to think about. Or not fun, depending on how you view things. But anyway, so that's that. Kotkaniemi is now a Hurricane. Also interesting that they're going to start him on the wing because of the depth that the Hurricanes have at center between Jordan Staal and Sebastian Aho. Obviously, the Sebastian Aho, who the Habs offer sheeted way back when. But, that's that. And that's all I want to talk about it. And I don't want to I'm honestly strongly considering muting KK and Kotkaniemi and Bald Eagle, whatever, on Twitter, because Kotkaniemi is no longer a Hab. So that's it. Just wish him the best of luck in Carolina and move on to Christian Dvorak now, because the Habs acquired Christian Dvorak from the Arizona Coyotes, and I have mixed feelings about this, to be honest. I'm happy that Dvorak fills I didn't say it was a black hole at center with Kotkaniemi, Suzuki, and Evans, and Poehling, and Paquette and Perreault, obviously, who can fill in the bottom 6. But this feels like, Marc Bergevin, because of the way they mishandled Kotkaniemi, Marc Bergevin was not dealing from a position of strength, which means that if he wanted to get a Jack Eichel or a Thomas Hertl or any other high-end number 1 center, whoever he was being negotiating with would be trying to fleece him in that deal, whatever it would have been. So he was already, because of the fact that they were already dealing from a position of weakness. I don't love the value, but I can appreciate what Christian Dvorak brings to the table. And also, it's good that the first-round pick the Habs will give up, whether it's Carolina's or their own first-round pick in the 2022 draft, it is top 10 protected. So that's big, because if the Habs struggle to make the playoffs, which is a possibility given the strength of the Atlantic Division this year, so if the Habs struggle to make the playoffs, and if that earlier first-round pick would have been in the top 10 or the top 5, then again, with the way the Habs have been drafting in the last 10 years, probably wouldn't have mattered, because he probably would have messed it up, but still, let's just put that aside, and just in terms of value, a top top 10 pick would not be worth it for Christian Dvorak, but maybe a 15th or 20th or third, maybe 32nd first round pick would be worth it. But Christian Dvorak, he is 25 years old, 6 foot, 195 pounds. He is good on faceoffs. He has a fifth in the last 3 years, dating back from 2021, 2020, and 2019. His faceoff percentages were 52, 55, and 55.3% respectively. So a good faceoff guy, good two-way center. The only problem, I mean, that pretty much screams Philip Deneau, although I think Philip Deneau is a better defensive center than a lot of centers in the NHL, so I don't know if Dvorak would be able to fill that void necessarily. But you look at his offense, up until last year, 38 points, this is 2019-2020, 38 points in 70 games, 7 points in 20 games, 37 points in 78 games, 33 points in 78 games. Obviously, this is dating back to when he was a 20-21-year-old. But then his, I guess, best season was last year as a 24-year-old, where he put up 31 points in 56 games, scoring 17 goals. And he has also an 18-goal season in 2019-2020. So the good thing is, right then and there, you get to see that Dvorak brings more offense to the table than Philip Deneau, and to some extent Kotkaniemi. So that's really good. And right away, I think he could be an okay second line center, but if you really want to talk about putting the Habs over the top, I don't know if he's I don't know if he's a guy that you'd want to consider as a second line center on a really, really, really good team. But then again, here's the thing: if Suzuki can take yet another step in his development and become a 60-plus point player, he kind of already is that, and also obviously a two-way player. I'd say Suzuki, it's really just about a little more consistency and being better on face-offs. But the Habs are relying on Nick Suzuki to take that yet another step in his development. But here's what I'm kind of nervous about with Dvorak, at least, right? We know that Dominique Ducharme and the Habs, they love Suzuki. We know that they love Jake Evans. We know that they will really want to give Cedric Paquette and Matthew Perreault all the opportunities that they can get, at least in terms of the bottom six roles. But with Ryan Poehling, I'm nervous about Ryan Poehling. And why shouldn't I be? Why shouldn't we all be nervous about Ryan Poehling? Because what if Ryan Poehling gets the Kotkaniemi treatment? What if Ryan Poehling has some good games and plays some good hockey, but then as soon as he makes one mistake where he overcommits or doesn't cover someone in the defensive zone and that leads to a goal against, his butt gets nailed to the bench for 3 games, or he just doesn't get the top minutes? Or what if the Habs bring in another Eric Stahl and give that player or sign Tyler Bozak, or I don't know, something ridiculous, and bring in another veteran player to take away the opportunities from Ryan Poehling? And then that hurts Ryan Poehling's development. I'm not saying that will be the case, but given with the way that the organization has handled Galchenyuk back in the day and Kotkaniemi, obviously a lot of that is on Galchenyuk just being bad at faceoffs and not being defensively aware and having little hockey sense compared to what an NHL center should have. And Kotkaniemi, his inconsistency, his lack of strength on his skates, his, again, inconsistencies, right? But what if Ryan Poehling, look, if he's going to make the team, he'll be a rookie. He's still 23 years old, I think. Yeah, he's still a relatively young player. So what if... I'm just nervous that Christian Dvorak, who has proven to be a good centerman, a good NHL centerman, not a great one, and I don't think he ever will be a great one, but what if he takes away Ryan Poehling's opportunities to become maybe a great centerman? I don't know. That's what makes me nervous. And that's what I guess, anxious about with this Dvorak acquisition. But then again, you could also say that, if the Habs acquired Thomas Hertl, or if they acquired fantasy Jack Eichel, or someone else, then those opportunities would have been taken away from Ryan Poehling anyway. But then they'd be taken away, or they'd be given to someone worthy of those opportunities, because you'd be giving them to a Thomas Hertl or a Jack Eichel, like a top centerman in the NHL, like already like a top, bona fide top 2 or top 1 centerman in the NHL. But Christian Dvorak, well, again, he's a good centerman, proven it. But I don't know if he's a great one, and as a 25-year-old, I don't know if he ever will be a great one. But again, bottom line is the Habs, for how they just completely mishandled, like they deserve an F for how they handled Kotkaniemi from the moment they drafted him to now, obviously. But at least they were able to, I guess, partially unscrew up what they screwed up with bringing in Dvorak. So from that standpoint, they were able to, just to move on and not be, I guess, entirely screwed. But again, if Kotkaniemi lights it up in Carolina, well, then we're just going to be talking about what if. And that's that. So, yeah, thank you for tuning into this live stream. Again, just with whatever, my good old microphone and my laptop webcam, but whatever. So it's just streaming here from home. I didn't feel like bringing my whole studio setup this time. But yeah, as usual, if you appreciate or if you enjoy my commentary, give me a big thumbs up on this video. Subscribe to my channel. Give me a follow on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Mike Langerr for all 3. And as usual, this has been a Langerr at the Mike Kotkaniemi offer sheet not matching Christian Dvorak acquiring reaction show here. And thank you so much for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you again next time.